Thanks for listening to Leadership Level Up. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff Williamson, and whether you are just starting your leadership journey or have led others for decades, this podcast aims to shine a spotlight on those who lead others and share their guiding principles that have made them great leaders. Welcome to Leadership Level Up. I'm your host, Jeff Williamson, and it's good to have you back with us. We're delighted to have back actually a return visitor in the early days of our podcast. I think in like the second or third, maybe, we had Dr. Michael Boyd, who's the president of Kankakee Community College. And wow, it's been almost a couple of years. We're now, I think, at episode 55 or something, and you were 2 or 3. So you're a leadership level up OG. We'll just call it for now.
I don't know how I got privileged enough to be among the early.
Well, you know. I said coming in earlier, I said, man, I love doing the podcast because I get to talk to people I really like and enjoy being around. And sometimes it's hard for us to get an hour in the same place together. Yeah. So that's an extra bonus for me.
That's right. Well, you let the tape roll and then have a good conversation.
Who knows what's going to happen, right? So in case, folks, you're not familiar with Dr. Boyd, let me give him a formal introduction. But he is Kankakee Community College president and CEO. He uses high energy, strengths-based leadership strategies. I love that. To connect students with family-sustaining career pathways. Firmly committed to community. Dr. Boyd's service includes Economic Alliance of Kankakee County, United Way, Kiwanis, the Kankakee Grundy Livingston Workforce Board, and he has served as a peer reviewer for Higher Learning Commission, chairperson of the Manteno Chamber of Commerce. There's just a lot of cool stuff that people like you do, and we both love being plugged in the community. So I knew a lot of those things, but some of them are like, oh, that too. Before arriving at KCC, he worked at Illinois Central College. And there he served as Associate Dean of English, Humanities, and Language Studies. He served as ICC's Six Sigma Black Belt. I can believe that. Yeah. As a professor of English and Humanities, he was awarded the ICC Thomas K. Thomas Endowed Teaching Chair in 2007. That's cool. Dr. Boyd also has been a high school English teacher and football coach. He has 3 degrees from Illinois State University. Go Redbirds. Bachelor's in English Education, Master's in English Studies, and a doctorate in English Studies. So there's the official stuff.
That's the official
stuff. Yeah. But welcome back, my friend. I guess we've known each other since whenever you first came.
It would have been 2014.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was here a little bit in town before you came to KCC, but we've been friends ever since.
Absolutely. Fast friends. And I remember you and I found ourselves in a couple situations where we were doing some public speaking and we kind of like a tennis ball, we were lobbing it back and forth and little insider jokes that you and I had. And one of those insider jokes has always stuck with me because, we always talked about friendships and friends and how we're all friends in Kankakee. That's one of our great assets as a community. And I've always appreciated about you and our friendship as well.
Yeah, I remember from my 10 years at ONU that when we got acquainted, we would refer to each other. It was like our little thing. I'd say, our friends at KCC, good to have Dr. Boyd. And then you'd be at an event and say, our friends from Olivet, good to have you here. And that was not just shtick or PR. That's sincere, and I've always felt that way. So
same. And we still feel the same with ONU. I mean, there's such a symbiotic relationship with both of us, and we both have a mission of serving this community and serving students.
And there's a variety of programs. There are programs that Olivet hasn't had and probably never have. That KCC is like fantastic and vice versa. And so, I've just always felt that collaborative, how can we help each other be successful is really what we're about. That's what I'm about personally as well. So, when I'm talking to leaders, I'm bringing in people like you and like others who see the value in community and connections. That's been a big one for me.
Right.
And so we'll talk a little bit later about the theme of our conference that you're going to be a part of. The first 2 years, it was community and connections. That was our theme. And that's really what we're about. especially in your role as a leader at our area community college.
Excited to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I'm thrilled as well. So a variety of things that we want to talk about today while we're together. Mm-hmm. First of all is some of those get to know you kinds of things. So let's talk some about your role as president of KCC. This is your first presidency, but it's not your first rodeo because you've been in this role now for a while.
That's right.
So tell the folks a little bit more about that. Hey, I started at KCC in this role and then was elected president. And let's talk through that a little bit.
Well, I was lucky enough to be the selected candidate in 2014 for the vice presidency. Mm-hmm. My role as vice president here at KCC was academic affairs. So, the unit that I led was really the academic enterprise, curriculum development, all of the things that happen in a classroom, and making sure that we were serving our faculty, our professors, our instructors, and giving them all that they needed to make sure that they could deliver that experience that is part of KCC's culture in our classrooms and our labs and our workshops in those environments. So very much a privilege to do that for a number of years. And then when the opportunity came up to apply for the presidency here at Kankakee, I did. It was a competitive national search, but I was the selected candidate.
And I had behind the scenes, I had my fingers crossed. I'm like, come on, pick Dr. Boyd, pick Dr. Boyd, pick Dr. Boyd. Yeah. And they wisely did so.
Well, I thank you for that.
Yeah,
I'm glad I had some supporters out there.
Oh, heck yeah. I'd say there are many, actually.
Well, that makes me feel good. Yeah. And it's something works. So thank you for your
So how long now that you've been in the presidency?
So I just finished my 5th year. As the
Gosh,
president. I know. Well, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked that question recently, and I'll say 5, and then people will say.
Most of us are like, well, and 2, I think it's like, on one hand, I think maybe 3 or 4, but then because you were already a key leader there before you were elected president, I'm like, well, he's kind of been there for a long time. So I have no luck at sorting out which was which in the timeline.
Well, I always forgive anyone who doesn't realize I've been there for 5 years, because I can't believe it myself.
I know.
I blink every now and then and say to myself, has it really been 5 years?
Yeah.
Those have been some interesting years, and that has made them slide by a little bit more quickly than your average 5-year run for a leader. But it's been 5 years as the president. So I'll be entering this August, my 6th academic year.
Terrific.
And they just keep getting better. There's new challenges, but I just think we've got a lot of really great momentum right now. Just some things that have happened, culturally, have opened our eyes and made us relook in a new way at our mission, and more importantly, how we achieve that mission. So it's just an exciting time for us.
Yeah. One of the things that I've observed as a community fan, if I can say it that way, is a number of ways in the technology areas, especially in manufacturing, that KCC has really, really engaged with the manufacturing industries in our region and said to those friends, what do you need? What are you lacking? What kind of certifications? What kind of trainings? And I love how the college has been nimble, at least in my mind, has been nimble and said, we don't have that, but we think we can do that. And how about if we put that all together and make it happen in 4 or 5 months from now? And so some terrific things have happened in those kind of programs. The Technology Center that, became just a jewel, really. I mean, the first time I went in there, I was like, wow, this is cool. This is really, really outstanding.
Yeah.
So those are some things that the community college has added to the service and the options that people have. So talk about that a little bit.
First of all, let me say thank you for noticing. Thank you for being aware and paying attention to what we're doing, because we're excited about it too. It all starts with the dedication and the passion of our faculty. They really are looking into the future. They understand that if we teach our students the knowledge, skills, and habits of mind they need today, that doesn't do them well for the future. And so our faculty are just so progressive, and they're looking out 2, 5, and 10 years and trying to give our students those transformative skills, not only to get them what they need to enter the workforce immediately, but really to be able to build a career out of those, out of all of that knowledge, those skills and the habits of mind. And so that's where it starts. I will say too, and I know your organization, what you do here, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it, has been so focused on community and community relationships. And that's the second piece. So we work hard to establish great relationships with our partners. Riverside and KCC have always had a strong partnership. It's so important for what we do, and most importantly, for what our students need. And all of the manufacturers in the area as well. We just keep our ears open, and we approach those leaders. We approach those HR managers, those employees, and supervisors. We approach them humbly and with open ears, and we just say, "What's going on in your world, and how can we help?" And most importantly, we do this very intentionally. Actively listen so that we can understand those needs. Our health as an organization depends upon us being vital into the future. And so we try to set up our programs and develop curriculum that's going to be needed 2 and 5 years from now, so that it seems like we got lucky, but really it's just that hard work. It's that open ear, it's listening, and really trying to do our best to position the college to serve students.
And as you know, from your years in higher education, I don't have to explain to anybody that it's been an interesting up and down 4 or 5 years for higher ed in general, both private and public, community college, 4-year college. Everybody's had to figure out some ways to do what we do differently.
Got it.
And respond to students and families and the market. And one of the things we'll talk about here in a minute is our upcoming conference in October. And the theme is reset, relate, and renew. And man, have we had to reset as a people, but also in your context, what are some things that come to mind to think, man, we really had to reset what classroom looked like, what virtual education looked like, and some of those things?
I'll say this. We pivoted to online instruction when I say easy, in relative terms, we were ready for that. And a lot of my colleagues, especially in different sectors in the community, in higher ed, but in different sectors of higher education, described how challenging it was for them to pivot. And I'm not saying it was easy for us. We expanded, but we had a very robust footprint in online education before 2020. And that was really part of what we did. Community colleges historically jumped on board. We were the innovators in online distance learning. And so the tools were in place. We had master online prepared teachers with certifications and credentials in online teaching who could lead the way. We had learning management systems in place. We pivoted in that aspect very well. And I'm very proud of how our organization did it. Our faculty knew, we had to adopt different ways of reaching our students, relying upon some of the things that we put in place in the past decade. And they did it. They just expanded those programs. Where we've had to reset more than anything in the last few years is in terms of timely, early, and timely interventions for all the things that you wouldn't associate necessarily with the classroom, the technical skills that we're delivering, math or English or communication outcomes, for example. So, we've really invested a lot of our energy, a lot of our training, professional development for our own staff, and our resources in our institutional budget for student success navigators. These are people who just live the lives of students. They get to know our students personally. They pay attention. They really lean into their performance, watching their behaviors, and they're able to step in and make some and provide some resources, whether it's mental health support, emergency funding, just to help them get over small little humps. And in my life, if the battery goes a bit dead on my car, maybe I'd call in one morning, take a couple of hours off, get a ride to AutoZone, replace that thing, and I'm back on the road. I'm at work in the afternoon. For some of our students, that $200-$300 to buy a car battery. It derails them. And that could happen in week 8, week 9 of a 16-week semester.
Yeah.
And how do you recover from that? And the mental health challenges, Jeff, have also just been a lingering result of what we've faced since 2020 that we're seeing to be persistent. And so we've reset how we think about behavioral issues at the college and how we understand, identify, and respond to students' mental health needs.
Yeah, those are some perfect examples of ways that we, being higher ed, have reset how we did some things. I mean, there were retention, student services, all that before 2020, but it's been reshaped, reset in so many ways. And, as I have often said, there are always some good things that come out of a bad time or hard time. And I think some of those are things like we have more of a coaching environment, so to speak, in education and training. We have a bit more of come alongside you as opposed to, well, suck it up or drop the class. That's just not a model that works in 2024.
It doesn't. And for anyone who laments that shift or that change, it's probably not worth lamentation. We just have to understand the current context
that's where they're at.
That's it. It so is, and we have to find ways to communicate, or not to lead us to the next topic. We have to find ways to relate.
Well, that's a perfect. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
And education is all about relationships in a lot of different ways, and it's primarily about relating to our students, finding ways to help them relate to the. I'm going to say it again, the knowledge, skills, and habits of mind that our programs deliver.
Right.
And we've got to meet those students where they're at. We can move them along in directions we think are
challenge them even.
Yeah, we challenge them. But if we don't meet them where they're at, we're going to lose them.
Right.
And that's going to be
and that would be a colossal shame to just dust off a huge segment of people going, well, you just got to toughen up.
Toughen up. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. As I've talked to different people too about workforce generations, I think there's some truth there for students in that I've often said to them, I think that whether it's millennials or Gen Zs, they can take a hit sometimes. I said, I think they've just had the courage to ask for some things that we've all maybe wanted in the workforce or that we've wanted our higher ed experience to be about. And maybe that's helped us.
I think so. Coming back to relating relationships as well, I think our traditional age students in this, I mean, that's not our only market. I mean, there's so many students across all age ranges at the college, but especially our traditional age students right now have developed a vocabulary, a very sophisticated vocabulary for understanding and talking about relating issues that they're having with mental health. And I think in a lot of ways, what I've come to learn is that I think some of these mental health challenges, behavioral health challenges that our students are experiencing, they've always been around. And often those folks didn't have the vocabulary, the language to talk about it, or a receptive ear to hear and listen.
Right.
That's what we as a college have tried to figure out is how can we be receptive? How can we relate to their concerns and then respond to their concerns?
Right.
So that we can keep them in our programs.
Right.
And help them persist into completion.
Yeah. And, I've said for years, relationships are everything, whether it's fundraising, whether it's community engagement, whether it's classroom. And it is because as I'm sharing the content and the details that I want them to absorb or learn or have a hands-on experience, if they have these struggles that are going on and they're not connected, they're not engaged in that process, they're going to lose. And so my role when the times that I'm in the classroom is sometimes to go to a student and say, hey, Mike, you don't seem like yourself today. Are you okay? Mm-hmm. Now that's outside of the traditional old school, like, that's not my lane, like, well, but if the lights are on for 4 or 5 classes in a row and then they're not, something's going on. And I'm the guy that'll just kind of go, hey, you okay?
Yeah.
Are you? No. And a lot of times when we say, you don't seem like yourself today, are you okay? They're not.
Right.
And that gives us that opportunity to say, hey, what is there anything I can do to help?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you need to process? And sometimes it's like, well, I don't know how to drop a class and I'm really struggling with this other. So it may be something at a lighter level than that, but it may not be something so light to say, could I introduce you to someone who I think would be perfect for you to talk to, based on whatever it is. So we have such an avenue of service being in education and in the classroom.
It's true.
And I love that so much.
Yeah.
So we've talked some about renew and or did I get it backwards? Yeah, I flipped it. Yeah, we talked about reset, relate, and then the third one is renew.
Yeah.
And learning is one of the ways that we do that.
Yeah.
Engaging in new circumstances and new topics and new people and new places is one of the ways we do that. And that's been one of the cool takeaways from our conference we've done the last couple of years with that focus on community and connection, is that literally just today, it was today or yesterday? No, it was just today. I had coffee with someone who attended the conference last year from Quad Cities, came over here to Kankakee for the conference and met a bunch of people that you would know in our community. And he was talking about how much that's helped him now. And he's relocated to the area.
Nice.
And so we were talking about that value of relating to people and getting connected and to kind of restart, new job, new setting, et cetera. That is so helpful. And I told him, I said, it just thrills my heart that some of the wonderful people in our community that he already knows was because he came to the conference last year. So I'm like, hey, everybody, this happens at the Converge conference, besides great keynotes from people like Dr. Boyd. But there's just so much opportunity when we come together and share just a few hours in the same space and talk about things that are important and that matter. Yeah. It just jazzes me.
Well, how it should. You should be proud of it. I'll tell you, when I moved to Kankakee in 2014, this was one of the most open and welcoming places.
Really? That's such cool.
I felt immediately like I belonged and that people wanted me here.
That's what we want. Man.
And I think you should be proud. So you created an environment and attracted the kind of people who made Kankakee look great enough that this person relocated from across the state to come here. So kudos.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of neat outcomes like that are based on relationship and introduction. And, hey, do you know my friend Mike? Yeah. Do you know my friend so-and-so? You guys, you need to get coffee.
Yeah.
And I love those times. And the conference that's one of the many things that the conference does. Now, to talk a little bit more specifically about that, the conference Friday, October 11th here in downtown Kankakee. You'll be hearing more of it on social, et cetera. But you're one of our premier keynotes. We have you in the afternoon on October the 11th. And then in the morning, we have Dr. I jumped to Dr. Calvin Edwards, Melvina Calvin Edwards, who is a fascinating person.
Well, that's who I'm excited to
see. She is a part of the Kankakee Police Force and has been for many years. But she has her doctorate in leadership, she's coming to your team soon. So tell us about that.
We are excited to have her as a professor of law enforcement at Kankakee Community College. So I know how dynamic she is. She has taught for us for a while and is now stepping on board this academic term as a full-time professor for us. So we're just eager to see what she does in that role. And brings her real-world experience, her leadership training.
Oh my goodness!
From you, Jeff, and others. To our college, and it's going to benefit our students. We're so excited to have her a part of the KCC community, to have her more a part of the KCC.
community. She's been around a long time.
Alum, so this is
I mean, you talk about a cool full circle.
That's right.
When we had her on recently to talk about the conference and her role in that, she talked about a key person in her growing up years here in town that said, you might want to think about this, and kind of nudged her toward law enforcement. And she went on to Kankakee Community College and studied there and
made an impact.
Yeah, that's right. And, got a master's at Governor State and then a doctorate at Olivet. And I lovingly say she is a pistol in a good way. She is so fun and funny and full of experience and insights. They're going to love hearing from her.
Oh my goodness. She's worth the price of admission.
She is. She is. Yeah. Absolutely. And she has a great story that was connected to that first class we had together in her doctoral program. And I just call it the $100 story. And that's all we'll say right now, because I told her I wouldn't steal her thunder.
No spoilers.
No. But listen for her $100 story. It's a classic Melvina. Yeah, it's a classic Melvina story. It was one of my earliest memories for her. And I thought when that story unfolds, that was when I went, this lady is something special.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's going to be like KCC Day at the Converge conference. Our 2 keynotes are leaders and friends from Kankakee Community College.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a KCC takeover.
We're not resisting that, right? So that'll be a part of the day. We'll have 3 rounds of breakouts as well. And a lot of other great people from our community. We have so far only had speakers and breakout leaders from our community.
That's wonderful.
And I've had people say to me, man, I appreciate that. We love somebody jets in and does a great event in our community, but people have really resonated to say, we've got a ton of really good leaders in our community, and thanks for shining a light on that. Right. Because that's what we're about, really.
Yeah. And, it's what I see happening in this building and all of the different entities that are working alongside you, just shining a light on the great things that are happening in this community. And what an awesome time to do that and bring in some leaders. So
yeah, it's a blast. I the last 2 years on the morning of, I've told people, it just feels like Christmas morning to me, or when we were 10 years old and all our friends are coming over for a birthday party, there's food and we're all set and we're ready the day before and we can't wait for everybody to get here. And that's how I feel with the Converge conference. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And you'll want to come because either Dr. Calvin Edwards or Dr. Boyd are worth the price of admission. And they're both going to be here that day. So we're going to have a blast. It's going to be fun. Friday, October 11th, as I mentioned. Well, gosh, it's good to have you here with us.
So good to be here.
Yeah. And as we prepare for the conference and whatnot, we'll be sharing more about you, about Dr. Calvin Edwards, and some of the other things that are going to be happening at the conference. So we've got some unveiling to do, but we're so glad you're going to be with us on that day and share in that event with us. So thanks so much for your willingness to be a part of it.
It's a pleasure to be a part of it. It really is. I mean, you're bringing in the right people, the right voices, and who wouldn't want to be a part of that? So thanks for including me.
Yeah. Well, appreciate your time. It's always good to catch up with you.
Same.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Hey, thanks for joining us on Leadership Level Up Podcast. Hope to see you next time. Thanks. Thanks for listening to Leadership Level Up. Please subscribe so you don't miss future conversations with great leaders. If you would like to learn more about executive coaching and team development, please go to convergegroup.io for more information.